human versus nature conflict, or don't you prefer calling it the character versus nature conflict? No doubt to confirm that a man versus nature conflict, this one tests human or person's strength and a will to live. It involves a run-in with the forces of nature. I know you have experienced several stories and moves scripted where an individual probably come on to be the protagonist, who often meet several setbacks caused by involvement around him or her in their way of achieving a certain thing, or else just an integrity. For example, Kino strives to sweep through several circumstances that would endanger the life of him and of his entire family, as well as interfering the opportunity he could excel from. Check it out, he fights for coitus treatment, but status fails him. He wanted also the sale of the pill at a good price, but geographical background can chance the dealers to crook him, eventually disturb a conducive market. Though debatable also, I feel we can understand Macbeth. The nature of the three prophecies and happenings influences him to murder Duncan. Macbeth goes forward with the idea of becoming to reign as a king, as he is conflicted when the first prediction of becoming the Fan of God, that one, comes true early. Human versus society conflict, which is the same as a character against society type of conflict. This one engages a contradicting between self-values and customs. For example, in the book Peal, Kino's interest lies on wishing a school for his coetito, which is contrary fighting the community's cultural common beliefs, which limits to expect only those selected families who can manage doing this for their children's education. And also in the play Macbeth, Macbeth too wonders whether it's right to kill Duncan, his cousin, whom happened also to be King of Scotland. In those days, in those times, kings were taken as God's deputies. So this act of murder betrays the society. The last but one description is on human versus self-conflict. Pride will also I call a character versus self-conflict. This is an internal conflict to define. It is a good test of one character's values. Does one give in to temptation or arise above? That one can be the best example. I pause there for some seconds, not just to leave you in suspense, but to allow you also have your own flashbacks. Anyway, back to my lesson. A good example in a play Macbeth. Macbeth himself requires to defeating the regressions he is apparently engaged into for killing Duncan and Bank, a friend. Similarly, in the book Peal, Kinos' decisions needs balancing whether to listen to Joanna and throw the pill back into waters and restart to live in a safe and hunted life. But as a houseband, he focuses on the benefit of selling the pill. The other literal element is setting. Setting is the place and time of the story. About place setting is also known as a geographical setting. For example, the Peal is set in La Paz, Mexico, by the author John Steinbeck, who born in Salisa, California, and grew around the Pacific coast, while Macbeth is set in Scotland, except Act 4, Scene 3, which is set in England. But the time setting is also known as a historical setting. For example, Macbeth is thought to be the first performed on the stage in 1606. And many suggest that the actual story is a dialectic of Queen Elizabeth as sextors. For instance, Shakespeare wrote to flatter King James and others, his related members like Evelyn Digby and Henry Garnet. In addition to that, script sources of Macbeth built on Shakespearean past performances such as Miracle and Morality plays. Also, he read texts from Raphael Holst's Chronicles about the history of Scotland, Isles and Ireland. Get a reference for this piece of information on page 162 if you are using this book, and the other on page XXV2, that is 27 in Roman numerals, if you are using this book again. And so the Peal was first published in 1947. So impressively written on effort side of the Antarctic time and tide, lightly taken as a wholly told heartbreaking parable. Apart from focusing on Kino, the fisherman who finds a great pearl that is so called the superb quality, as well as the pearl of the world by its value. Still, but around him too were other many pearl fishers. Definitions in progress. Let's talk about character and the characterization. Character is a person or the partaker in the story, whether protagonist or antagonist, or just any other supporting actor. They are all so-called characters. Remember, an antagonist always opposes the protagonist. Characterizations, which is the process of giving qualities or characters of the character.